This tutorial is for 3rd grade, Module 7, Lesson 19. In Lesson 19, we're going to continue to look at rectangles that have the same area but different length and width measurements. So I have an example of two of the charts that we're going to fill out, asking for rectangles with a certain number of square units or area, and we have to see how many different rectangles we can find that would meet that requirement. I'm actually going to start with the second chart. It asks for a rectangle that uses 18 square units. I know to find an area of 18, I need to multiply my width and my length to get 18. So for example, I could have a width of 1 unit and a length of 18 units. That would give me an area of 18 square units. I could also have a width of 2 units and a length of 9 units. 2 times 9 is also 18. And finally, I could have a width of 3 units and a length of 6 units. 3 times 6 is 18, so that rectangle would also have an area of 18 square units. So I was able to find 3 different rectangles with an area of 18 square units. If we go back to the first chart though, we're looking for rectangles that have an area of 17 square units. Well, I could have a width of 1 unit and a length of 17 units. 1 times 17 would give me 17 square units. But I could not multiply 2 times anything to get 17. I couldn't multiply 3 times anything to get 17. If I were to continue trying to find rectangles, I would discover that this rectangle can only be made by a width of 1 and a length of 17. So I can only find one rectangle that would give me an area of 17 square units. Now there were several tables in that first section where we were finding different rectangles. So I'm going to take all of the information for that first section and make a line plot that will show the data that I collected for those rectangles. In that first exercise, we found different rectangles that had an area of 12 square units, 13 square units, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 square units. When I looked for rectangles that were made of 12 square units, I found 3 of them. So I'm going to put an X for each rectangle, just like my key shows down here. For a rectangle using 13 square units, there was only one rectangle. I made 2 rectangles with an area of 14 square units, 2 rectangles that had an area of 15, 3 rectangles that had an area of 16 square units, 1 rectangle for 17 square units, and 3 rectangles for 18 square units. And if we again look at those rectangles where we could only find one rectangle that had the required number of units, the reason behind that was because we couldn't come up with any other multiplication problems that would equal that square unit. For example, with 13, the only way I can have a rectangle that has 13 square units is if I take 1 times 13. So that's why some of our answers only showed one rectangle with the required amount.